Only one place to start in football this week. That's the Mayo final. Ballydreen against Ballintubber. Andy Moran. It'd be a nice way to finish off the year for him.
Definitely would, yeah. I was actually chatting with a piece in today's paper, and I had actually forgotten when he was talking about his leg break and his cruciate that he was actually in the stands when they won in 2012, which is a fair achievement, for a club that hasn't got a massive pick, that he was actually in the stands and wasn't playing. But I asked him, I kind of thought it was an interesting thing, when someone finishes up a long county career, I kind of asked him, are you looking forward to becoming like a club player, and a club player solely? And his comment I just thought was interesting. He just said, my body is, he just said, when you play county football for as long as I have, it's lovely to go into training at 6:30 for a 7:30 or 8 o'clock session and have a physio and a masseuse there to go to work. When you go back to club training, unfortunately, that's not going to be available. So how my body holds up to it is going to be the most fascinating thing for me, and see how it reacts. 36 as a club player, you're still old. I'll definitely give it another year next year, but I'll just see how the body reacts to it. So kind of something that I hadn't thought of, it was the resources available to you as a county manager, I suppose. The fact that no more than like Richie Hogan saying how much time he needs to loosen out. When you do get older, there's a lot of things needed to get you on the field and get you on the field 100%.
There's even a chain reaction. One thing goes and then you try to get yourself back quickly, and something else goes and then something else goes. You're just waiting to fall apart at that stage. Yeah,
and he has all that. He has those resources and that care available to him. And I'm not having a go at any clubs or anything. You just don't have those resources. You can't have a masseuse or a physio there every night. It's just not there, and you can't just land into a physio or land into whatever whenever you need it. So it's just an interesting one. And he's probably extracted so much out of his body to play county football. Sometimes you have that with lads, and genuinely, like when they retire from inter-county, there's just nothing. There's not that much left for club or otherwise. It's not that they don't love their club or anything. That's just, there's nothing left. Your body's just going to break down.
The sort of shorthand version of what this final is a rampant Ballydreen attack against a very miserly Ballintubber defence. So just to give a bit of context going into this, Ballydreen beat Castlebar Mitchells by 7 in the semi-final, but missed so many goals.
And 11-4 as well. It was. They hammered them.
But they had something like 7 clear-cut goal chances that they missed. Killian O'Connor is up against David Drake, who retired from Mayo age 29 this kind of week, so that's an obvious matchup. Dillon didn't play the semi-final for Ballintubber. I think there's an injury. He'd be at centre forward knitting things together, assuming he's okay for this. The midfield is going to be very interesting. Ballydreen's Ryan Lynch, now who's an under-21 panellist in 2016, he scored 4 points from play in the first half against Castlebar. Diarmid and Jason Gibbons very, very strong. Gibbons has been arguably the best club player there in the last
Jason Gibbons is an interesting one. I'd say he's been dropped from the Mayo panel maybe 2 or 3 times. He's probably a classic case of just this lad who is just so effective at club level. He's just so good at club level, and maybe just struggles to make that next step, but is still a phenomenal player at club level. I've had people say to me, when they see it's like an annual thing that Jason Gibbons is let go from the Mayo panel, and I'm not having a go or anything like that, but it's just people maybe wondering why he's in there. His club form is outstanding. It is a big jump from club to county. You know what I mean? Particularly where he's playing around the middle of the field as well.
Ballintubber would have sucked the life out of Ballina in the semi-final. Real collective sort of defensive effort there. Ballydreen, I think outside of the players I just mentioned, Shirozi Akram, apparently he was brilliant against Castlebar, kept Paddy Durkin very, very quiet. Cormac Doohan, who was on the underdogs last year, and Cuba Callahan, great name of course, did have a very potent inside line alongside Andy Moran. So it is set up to be a very tasty final indeed.
Andy Moran said as well, he couldn't underestimate how big it was for Keane Hanley to come back for them. He just said he was with the Brisbane Lions for 3 years. Ballydreen didn't really do much during that time, and he just said the boost they got from him coming back was massive. And
I wonder if he didn't suffer the injuries he did coming back, would he have made more of an impact with even when he came in the door and Stephen Rochford called him up with Mayo, he was injured more or less straight away, never got a run at it.
Yeah, he never got a good go at it. And he was also saying about how there's a club legend, Paul McHugh I think is his name, a local legend he called him. He actually had them for under 21 the whole up. They won 3 under 21s, and he was saying as well that because it's a small club, they had Andy Moore and David Drake, Shirozi Akram and Keane Hanley in with the seniors, and the 2 guys in with the 20s. They actually got relegated from Division 1 of the league. But they're unbeaten so far. They went unbeaten through the group stages. The Castlebar defeat in the semi-final was a big shock. There's no point in saying any different, and it could have been an absolute annihilation. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It'll just be, will Ballintubber ground them down? That's the big question.
The Waterford final is on this weekend.
What time of the year is it? I thought that's usually not played the first week of December, no?
Yeah, it's not as if they haven't had loads of time to play it
but
either.
usually it's like a Wednesday night in the middle of December.
Yeah, most of their the two intercounty teams were gone good and early this year, and you wonder how so many counties allow this to drag on forever. But anyway, Ballynacourty are against Rathgormack. It's the first final meeting between the two teams. Peter Quealy's in charge of Ballynacourty, and he brought passage to a hurling title in 2013, so he's trying to add a football title to it, which would be fair going.
Maybe if he added a football title, they'd finally give him the hurling job, because he seems to have to walk on water to try and get that hurling job. Yeah. It's mad.
The Hurneys, Shane Briggs, they'd still be on this panel. Rathgormack are going for a first title in 20 years, and they haven't appeared in the final since 2001. Conor Murray has been in sparkling form for them, and Tomás McCarthy, who's a journalist down in Waterford, he's telling me that he could be picked up by Waterford hurler Conor Prunty.
Oh, so, very good, yeah.
Interesting little matchup
Prunty
there.
was one of the few bright lights for Waterford hurlers this year. He was
him and Callum Lyons.
Yeah, both of them were outstanding.
Donegal final this weekend, Gaoth against Naomh Conaill. So it's a repeat of the 2018 final that Gaoth won 17 points to 1-7. They're strong favourites again, sure, like going on to run Corofin to 4 points. I thought that would have been a beatdown, but ends up being by 4 points.
And Ulster champions before suggested it was tight the whole way through.
They had a chance actually to turn over Corofin, looking to do the first back-to-back of the decade, whereas Naomh Conaill, or Glenties as they're often referred to, they're in the 7th final since 2005, but again, like we talk about this plenty of times, looking into down the barrel of a third final defeat in a row, which would be very, very hard to swallow. So very, very defensive team. They won their first title in 2005 when Jim McGuinness was player manager.
Right, yeah,
they've been plenty of finals since, winning a few of them, and Leo McClune and Kieran Thompson, they'd be the key men there. Whereas Gaoth, they seem to have a lot more weapons, like Oran McFadden Ferry, Darragh O'Boyle, Michael Carroll, Neil McGee, Oran McNeilish, of course, class act.
Isn't it?
Yeah, they beat Kilcar in the semi-final, and they shut down both Ryan McHugh and Paddy McBrearty. So if you're able to shut down players of that quality when the rest of the team is quite good also.
Is Kevin Cassidy still at it?
Yeah, he's in there.
He's in the underdog as well. He's been kept busy at the moment.
Yeah, there's some good markers in the team, like the McGees, of course, Kieran Gillespie. So it is hard to back against Gaoth during the back-to-back.
Yeah, and as we said kind of in the review show earlier on the week, should they come out with Donegal, Ulster is going to be so spicy. It really is.
And we'll come to it in a while, but the Ulster Championship is starting this weekend,
mad,
whereas the likes of the Kerry Championship is at the quarter-final stage this weekend.
Yeah.
In Galway this weekend, Corofin are looking to make it 7 in a row when they meet Tuam Stars, who are the only other county to ever do 7 in a row from 1954 to 60. Tuam haven't won it since 1994, and their current manager, Tommy Carton, he was on that team, so he's obviously looking to repeat history. Tuam were very impressive against Moy Cullen, and the last kind of period of the game they won 2-6 to 3 points, which is romping home.
I think that's an interesting one actually. Like guys that have been a player win the county title and been a manager win the county title as well. Like Barry Whelan has a chance to do it for us this weekend. I'm sure I can't think of offhand, but I'm sure there's a good few lads that have done it. No more than
Henry Shefflin.
Yeah, Henry Shefflin. No more than Billy Morgan did it with Cork as well. I think he's the only one
to do it in Cork.
He's one of the only ones that have done it in football, I think. No, what am I talking about? Jim McGuinness has done it as well. But there's a lot of, it's a fair achievement, like, to go from your playing days.
Yeah, Jim McGuinness did it on the one day, player manager.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
Right, so 12 months ago, Tuam were fighting relegation, so that's probably the impact that Tommy Carton has had and the players buying into it. Jamie Murphy scored 410 from playing the championship, and Gary O'Donnell, everyone will know from the Galway team, his driving runs from midfield will be key. But like Corofin are only slowly grinding into gear. We often talk about these teams that win the All Ireland and have to, players go in with the county team, then they have to come back to the club and so on. Like, they wouldn't have had all their main players lining out in the last couple of games. Like Kieran Fitzgerald wasn't playing, Micheál Lundy, Michael Farrer, they were on the bench a couple of weeks ago in the semi-final. Dahi Burke has missed the last 2 games because there's talk of glandular fever with him. He's played with Turlock Moore midfield, not exactly flying it. So there are kind of reasons to think, can Corofin be caught here?
There are some reasons. We talked about before, a lot of the time, the hardest battles, and you would know with Coola, and I definitely know with Burr going back through the years, that the hardest battles were the ones in the county. It could have been a replay, it could have been a point here.
Well, the pressure is most intense within your county, because the idea of losing to the boys up the road or what have you is so intense. Once you get out, I don't think that, obviously there's pressure to win and you want to do well, but the local pressure and kind of having losing the bragging rights for a year, or having the bragging rights over you from someone else, it's sickening. And
like the only way you can see Tuam winning the game is if it's like Mountbellew-Mylock last year in the final.
Keep it tight.
Yeah, like what was that, 1-5-8 or something like that?
I think it was even 6 points each. It was something ridiculously low.
Well, I think it was 1-5-8. I'm off the top of my head, but it's going to have to be a low scoring game. I just don't think you're going to beat Corofin like scoring like 2-14. I don't think you're going to beat Corofin being that open.
It was 7 points each last year.
We were both
but it was somewhere in the middle. The other thing, I suppose, like if Ian Burke hits form, they're like, I know that they were very sluggish and sloppy sort of towards the end of the games against Mountbellew-Mylock and Salthill Knocknacarra, but if the likes of Ian Burke and Martin Farrer get off ball, if Lundy hits form, Gary Sykes, there's so many class names in there.
They're obviously going for an All-Ireland 3 in a row as well.
Yeah.
They haven't had much downtime in the last 24 to 30 months, like, so
no, that's the thing.
It's going to be interesting. You'd have to fancy them to come through.
Yeah.
It mightn't be altogether pretty, and I don't think they'll care, but they'll get through.
Carrigan of Antrim against Derry Gonley of Fermanagh in the Ulster Club first round this weekend. So we know we've spoken about Carrigan a lot lately, and I suppose more so even Lovejarg, who they beat, with Lovejarg having to go through replays and extra times, and obviously the Antrim final went to extra time and a replay also. But only 8 days to recover after all that drama in Antrim, and you would have blown off a bit of steam after it too. It's a tough ask against a Derry Gonley side that won their county title September 22nd.
Yeah, it is a tough ask. I think Laois ripped up the script this year for recovery and stuff like that, and celebrating games and being able to go and do what they did against Dublin and then against Tipperary the following week. But in general, it's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult to do. Like,
well, look at the 6-day turnaround, like that was in the qualifiers for years in football, that teams couldn't recover from that. I know it's 8 days, and those couple of days make a fair difference.
But 8 days after a county final, like 6 days after a provincial defeat, you're going out and drowning your sorrows. This is like, you've been there, I've been there. They're the best days of your life. Like, you go and absolutely cut loose, and they're great. Just a great couple of days, and you're probably not coming right till Thursday or Friday, and then you've got another game kind of in your face. And like Derry Gonley, we're talking about, as competitive as Ulster is, they've won, is it 3 in a row they've won in Fermanagh? They've a few anyway in a row, and they were talking about Ulster this year. They weren't talking about Fermanagh. Do you know what I mean? So that's where their kind of aspirations lie. So it's 5 in a row.
It's 5 in a row.
5 in a row, yeah.
Like they ran Guido pretty close last year.
It was Jones brothers, yeah.
Yeah, like they conceded 3 goals before half time and left themselves too much to do, but they actually gave a very good performance. So I think for that reason, plenty of people would be expecting them to come through.
You probably would, to be fair. Yeah.
The Armagh final is on this weekend. Ballymacnab against Crossmaglen. And it's one of those situations whereby you're going to spend your time trying to make a case for the underdog here, because Crossmaglen have been so strong, looking for 21 and 24 Armagh titles.
So hard beaten when they get to that situation. A lot of the time with that big team, with the tradition, is beating them along the way, not in the final, because they're just so experienced when it gets to that stage. Way too much nous when it gets to that stage. They invariably, they show up. They always deliver.
They don't get the white line fever of the last few minutes, kind of thinking, can we do it, or starting to make mistakes. There's a calmness when you've done it before. Whereas Ballymacnab, they've only ever been in 2 finals. Last year they lost by 6 points to Cross, and in 2011 their first final they lost 2-22 to 3 points.
I actually remember that.
So a bit of a shocker. So it's going to be hard to bet against Crossmaglen in this final. The Clare final is on this weekend, and we threw it out on Twitter just trying to see if anyone had any interesting tales here, and it was one person got back to us and they were saying that there's cousins on both sides. So Owen Connor Cleary, they're going to be up against Enda and Dermot Coughlin, who are their cousins, and he was talking, I think one of them, whoever was interviewed, was saying, Owen, was saying he hopes that the grandmother is a neutral anyway.
It's I just love that. It's one of them mad, we'll come on to it in a minute, like the Kildare situation in Kildare as well is interesting, but it's always those kind of mad things that's thrown up, like, and you know, who are you shouting for today, like say like my mother's for Ban or / Belmont, and we'd always be playing them in football, and it's just like, they're obviously shouting for you. It's a terrible situation to be in. There's a great story actually about Rode played Clara once, and there was a woman, she married a man from Rode or whatever, and she was shouting for Rode in the match, and the people were coming up to her and they were like, what's going on, you're shouting for Rode? And she said, well, I was Rode before I was married. But it's one of those, there's always great kind of family kind of situations thrown in with the club. It's great.
Yeah, so this is a battle of neighbours and battle of the last two champions, because Kilmurry-Ibrickane won it in 2017 and Miltown-Malbay in 2018. And it's funny, in the hurling final as well, you had two teams from the one parish, Cratloe and 6 Mile Bridge, and this is their first championship meeting since 2010, and the first ever final between them.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? Yeah, because they would have had both down. Like Kilmurry, obviously, they're going to be there most years.
Yeah,
that's mad. Yeah,
they've won 8 titles since 2002 and lost only one final. So you talk about teams being used to being at the big stage and delivering.
Yeah. Miltown, of course, were Munster finalists last year as well. Like, you know.
So
and like you've been down there and I've been down there before. It's so hard. A lot of it is a possession style. We talked about this geography before. Like, it's so difficult when you're playing, like, they're basically right on the coast, like it's right down where, like, close Spanish Point, where all the weddings would be and everything, and the great scenery and that. But it's so hard to actually kick football down there, actually kick ball. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And just
the Wild Atlantic Glacier.
Yeah, exactly, and it lends itself to a different style of football almost as well. That should be an interesting game, and I love when there's those kind of family links are thrown in.
The Derry final between the Glen or Watty Grahams and Maher felt on a Celtic Park. Have you ever, or Celtic Park, actually, whichever it is, have you ever been up at it? It's a great little venue.
I've never been there.
Yeah,
actually,
it's brilliant. Like, just because, you know, you come into the city and it all kind of folds, like there's hills and you kind of come around and there's a bit of it's a great little view as you come in, and a nice little tight ground, really cool little venue. But one of the storylines coming into this is Conor Glass, who's from the Glen. He's been over in the AFL for the last number of years. He was one of these players, underage, everyone had him marked out to be the next guy.
Yeah.
Goes down to Hawthorn, doing very well. You stumbled across a video of him online.
Yeah, there was a ball kicked in around the goals, and it was going to be, what did they call it?
Behind?
A behind, yeah. And it was going to be, your man was just...
Is there a goal behind and an over or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's it, yeah. Your man was going to walk through or kick it through, and Glass came from the blind side and hit him with a shoulder. Absolutely sweet as a nut. But yeah, I'd say he's loved over there. He's the Irish stereotype, like with the red hair.
Oh, he's like Sideshow Bob in the place. Yeah. Kieran McFaulby. Actually, there's a rumor, because he's in in the pen picks for the program, so he's in there, and there's a rumor that he is going to feature. And with this rumor going around, I think it'd hurt the Glen if he doesn't actually play, because, you know, that rumour swishing around, then it's a disappointment. Even the fans, they'd love to have that to lift the team. Here comes this lad onto the field.
Yeah, and as long as that as well, it could be a ruse, like, just to get Marifel thinking. Yeah, you don't know, like, and they're planning for him. Then they're planning for something that.
Then when he doesn't play, they all relax.
Happen. Yeah, maybe, yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Kieran McFaul will be the sort of key man for the Glen. He'd be a big leader, and they've had underage success for sure. And yeah, Maher Felt won the Féile last year, so. Yeah, pretty good final there, especially without having Schlock.
Lads will be available this year.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that they've definitely underage success also. But yeah, without Schlock Neil there.
Mad, isn't it? Yeah, like me and you had basically said that. We thought Schlock Neil and Ballinderry in the quarterfinal was the de facto final. Yeah. They got through that, and then they were beaten in the semi-final. Like,
just egg in our faces again.
Yeah, it's not the first time.
Familiar feeling.
Won't be the last either, yeah. But just on Conor Glass, I think it's always interesting at this time of the year. It's the close season for the AFL lads. They'll nearly always come home and there's rumours of them featuring or whatever. Of course, Ty Kennelly was the famous one with Listowel Emmets. He played regularly when he came home.
Zach Toohey for Portlaoise.
Yeah, it wasn't a deal though. It wasn't a big deal back then. There was no social media and that. Of course, Mark O'Connor got stung last year when he played for Dingle, and I don't know, videos resurfaced, and I'd say he got a very strong rap on the knuckles.
Yeah. Conor Nash played for Simonstown a couple of years ago.
That's right, yeah.
He only came off the bench, and you could see by the way he was running, he looks like a different type of athlete than he would have been previously. Just gliding along, like lean as a butcher's dog.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's just
I actually didn't make that much of an impact when he came in. That was the only thing.
Go away, yeah. It's an interesting one though, because it is a big. Imagine the loss that, you know. Maybe not Zach Toohey and Portage still had lots of success, but you know, Conor Glass, imagine the loss.
They might have won an All-Ireland with him.
They could have had, yeah. Imagine the loss a player like that is to a club, like, you know what I mean? It's a big thing to take, and when they come home, there must be a lot of pressure. You know, there must be a lot of pressure. Oh, you surely help us out.
Keane Hanley.
Yeah, you surely dig us out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry.
Do you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, now that you mention it, you know Pierce Hanley, Keane Hanley's older brother, who's been with the Brisbane Lions for years. He might have changed clubs since, but he did a bit of a Graham McDowell with his accent. You know the way Graham McDowell's kind of half Yank at this stage.
Yeah.
Impenetrable sort of an accent. What's his name? Pierce Hanley took up a bit of an Australian accent and said, "Someday I still dream of wearing the Mayo jumper." Actually, full AFL speak.
That's like Steve McLaren when he went over to.
Went
over to Holland.
Yeah.
There's a good one as well. There's a good one as well.
Didn't Joey Barton do the same when he was in Marseille?
He did, yeah. Tina Hannon from Offaly, she won't thank me for this. She moved up to Schlockneil. She's married to Patsy Bradley. And within 9 months, she had a Derry accent. She won't thank me for it.
The battle in Newbridge this weekend between Moorfield and Sarsfields in the Kildare football final. Battle of two very young managers, you were noticing.
Yeah, no, it's mad. Yeah, Davy Burke's only 31. And probably would have been a bit put out that he wasn't in the mix for the Kildare job, having coached and managed Kildare to win the under-20 All-Ireland. He took Sarsfields, by all accounts. I think he was kind of, Selbridge's job had been floated, but I think he thought Sarsfields is more of a challenge. Has them back in a final now against Ross Glavin, who's 34 from Moorfield. He's looking at bringing Moorfield to their first 3 in a row, and the first time 3 in a row has been done since 50, 51, 52, which was Sarsfields. The two of them are interesting as well because they're both going to be involved in inter-county setups next year. Yeah. And we just saw before we went on air there that Davy Burke has trials organised in Wicklow for October 24th, so he's definitely double jobbing at the moment. Obviously his main priority at the moment is get Sarsfields to a county title, and then Ross Glavin is in with Jack O'Connor in Kildare. Well,
there's double jobbing seems to happen a nice bit because Mickey Graham did it last year with Mullinachta and Cavan. Didn't Stephen Rochford do it that time with Corofin when he was after taking over with Mayo? So it's definitely happening a nice bit, and I think that issue is obviously going to be lessened somewhat for a team that goes to the club final because now the All-Ireland is January the 19th.
True, so we said it before, we said it again, like, understanding wives.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. Like, because it's every night of the week. Fair play. They must be getting grief at home, though. Yeah. They have to be.
Moorfield going for a 3 in a row and a Leinster title in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Which is fair going.
Yeah, Ross Glavin took over in his first year. He had very little managerial experience. He'd been with a neighbouring parish and brought them to I think it was an intermediate quarter final. They'd had a good year and done well in the league. But he won a Leinster title in his first year, backed it up then last year. And this year, like Sarsfields will have serious motivation to beat them this year, you know, and we're talking about family ties and stuff like that. Ross Glavin's wife, I was chatting to him the other day, his wife is from Sarsfields. He played a county final when his father-in-law was involved with Sarsfields, and it's his wife's birthday on Sunday as well. And like he's kind of saying, well, I'm hoping she'll be shouting from Moorfield, but like it's just one of those kind of classic scenarios, like, you know. And
it's the time of year for it. Sure, we saw it in Cratloe against 6 Mile Bridge. The manager of 6 Mile Bridge is Tim Crowe, and his son-in-law is the fullback for Cratloe. So there you go.
Brilliant. Yeah. It's very, very hard to call that game. Moorfield have the experience, but it's interesting. Ross Glavin had some interesting comments just about the style of play, the Sarsfield play, and maybe how defensive and that they are. So it's going to be an interesting game.
What business of that is his?
Maybe some shots fired.
That's nothing to do with him, sure. play your own style and let everyone else worry about it. London final this weekend, Fulham Irish against Tyrconnell Gales. So they met in last year's final and Tyrconnell won after a replay. So you had a look at Fulham Irish.
Yeah, I did. All Mulligan is involved with Fulham Irish this year.
That top knot.
Yeah,
hard to beat it.
I think all the talk was of Neasden Gales really. Paul Goggins, who's over Tyrconnell Gales, had said that this was going to be the most competitive London Championship in his, that he'd ever remembered, and it was. But Neasden were the ones that everyone was talking about. Jamie Clark from Armagh, obviously superstar, Conor Harrison, and was it Caolan Mooney?
Caolan Mooney, yeah.
So like they were expected to steamroll everyone, but it just doesn't work out like that. Particularly, they put up a savage score against one of the good teams in London during the summer. But when the pitch slows up, and the old lads and boys get in shoulders, and it's annoying lads, and a bit maybe sledging and stuff like that, things don't always go to plan. So
another young manager here.
Yeah, another very, very young manager. Yeah, so
Michael Maher.
No, that's Michael Maher. That's the new London manager.
Sorry,
I'm just saying he'll be an interested spectator. He's only 32 as well, so he's the second youngest inter-county manager. He'll be looking on, see what talent is available to him. But it's going to be an interesting final. It's going to be an interesting final. Owen Mulligan was embroiled in a bit of controversy earlier on in the year over a suspension. He hit a guy his shoulder allegedly during a match. Someone was coming down the line and hit him a shoulder allegedly. So it'll be interesting. I think that kind of is. There's a lot of different flashpoints and different things going on before this match.
On the side of it then, Paul Goggins has obviously been down this road before and managed the county team. Since he's returned as manager, they've won 6 trophies out of 6, and they've a Division 1 final to come against Neasden Gales, who you mentioned. And if they win the county final also, that'll be 8 trophies from 8 since he's come back as manager, which would be an unreal goal. So the London captain, Liam Gavigan, he'd be the main man for the Gales. He's London born. He's won 4 county titles with them.
It's funny, I chatted him before. It's just funny chatting to a lad who loves the GA so much, and he just has the Cockney accent. It's just it's just funny, But he'd be heavily involved in the underage structures in Tyrconnell. They're in the schools, no more than Cooler in the schools or no more than Burr in the school. It's that's their nursery they're looking after or whatever, whereas you think maybe soccer would be going on in schools. And
they have a couple of other England born players anyway, Aidan McGarvey and Liam Gallagher, who of course have fairly Irish sounding surnames, but you can imagine where that came from. And they've lost the likes of Mark Gotcha, who was the captain and the star man.
Yeah.
Remember when they got to the Leinster final in
2011 I'm going to say it was, I think.
And Owen Murray. And I think Killian Butler isn't available, but they're still driving on and obviously back in the final. The reward also is a Connacht Club quarter-final at home on the 2nd or 3rd of November. So that's a nice little carrot.
It definitely is, yeah, fairness. Just back to Michael Maher for a second as well. He's the first, he's a London-born manager. So it's the first, to the best of my knowledge, the first non-Irish, shall we say, GA manager of an inter-county team, which is a fair achievement. And he served a
fairly Irish.
It is, yeah, Mickey Maher, you can call it if he's over here, or Mick Maher.
So the Kerry quarterfinals are on this weekend. 2 of them are on RT on Saturday, but just to run through them quickly: Killarney Legion against St Brendan's, Dingle against East Kerry, and there's a nice little story on that because East Kerry's Mike Foley has a decision to make there. He might have had it made at this stage, but is he going to appear in the county quarter-final, or is he going to go on winning streak? It's a tough decision.
I tell you, it's a nice decision to have.
Winning streak doesn't come around too often.
True, yeah, that's true.
That football will come and go.
There was a fella from our parish ended up on winning streak twice in his life.
Yeah?
Mad stuff, yeah. Must have been buying a fair few scratchers each week. But it's a great kind of great problem to have, in fairness, isn't it?
It sure is.
By all accounts, I think his problem is solved. I think his sister is going on winning streak for him.
Will he still get the spons?
There you go now.
Nice little bit of buns.
She'll have to get a bonus. She'll have to get an appearance fee.
Dr. Crokes against Kenmare, and then South Kerry against St. Kieran's. We'll focus more on Kerry as it gets to the semi-final and final stage. So the refixed Loud final is on this weekend. So last week was an absolute joke when we talked about it, that it was called off because there was a few puddles. The pitch was in perfect working order. It's not a great ground. There was standing water. People couldn't. It was a little bit inaccessible. I suppose people's feet would have got wet. Probably insurance issues if anyone slipped.
Good pair of wellies, Jesus.
But you can understand the insurance issues because we're in a compo culture Ireland, aren't we?
Yeah, very true.
But at the same time, there was no backup plan. It's the flagship day of your county championship. You need to have a backup plan. But anyway, it's delayed. Here's hoping there aren't a few more drops of rain and it goes ahead.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
But traditional powerhouse Newtown Blues against Nave Martin's, team who hasn't won it before.
You're a Nave Martin man.
I am. And that blue jersey I should have one there somewhere. But a couple of friends of mine are from Monaster Boys, so they'd be big. There'll be big Nave Martin heads, of course, and it'll be all about keeping Andy MacDonald and Colin Judge quiet. If you can keep them off the ball, I think Nave Martins might have a chance. A lot of underage success in recent years. JP Rooney is still around, still looking for that first county title, so we'll see how that goes.
Colin Judge just lends himself to headlines. So
Judge and executioner, this kind of stuff. Monaghan final is on this weekend. Clontibbert against Scottstown, who had to come through a replay to get this far. So Clontibbert, they've won 5 in the last decade, which, you know, on the face of it, I didn't realise they'd won quite so many. But they've lost 3 of their last 4 finals that they've appeared in, winning it in 2014, whereas Scottstown are after 5 in a row. And, you know, the likes of the Hugheses, even having Rory Beggan in goals, just such a great platform.
Like, they're the forgotten team as well. Like, they were beaten after extra time by Gweedore last year.
Yeah.
Gweedore was the story, whereas Scottstown were going after the Ulster. Like, so they'll be looking to get back to that sort of place again. That's going to be an interesting final. A lot of it is going to come down to Conor McManus realistically, and whether Scottstown can stop him.
The Sligo final this weekend between Coolerastrand Hill and Turlestrand. Just to recap on the semi-final scorelines, Coolerastrand Hill 2-14, St Mary's 16 points, and Turlestrand battered Shamrock Gales 2-19 to 7 points. So I think most people would be expecting Turlestrand to win this.
They're heavy favourites. Going for what are they going
4
for?
in a row.
4 in a row. Coolerastrand Hill haven't won one since 2005. Were beaten in the 11 final as well. You'd have to fancy Turlestrand.
So that's it for Club Talk Football. If we missed out on any stories, please let us know. Or if anything happens over the weekend that we should follow up on, please do let us know. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube by clicking on that button there.